Can the Minnesota Timberwolves star Anthony Edwards, the Ant-Man, save his team from an 0-2 hole tonight?
This is Locked On Bets, the daily betting show that means business from the Locked On Podcast Network. Hosted by Lee Sterling and Kevin Rogers, they're dropping fearless picks with an inside edge to put money in your pocket. If there's action, they've got the lock. This is where smart bets start. It's Locked On Bets.
Welcome to the Monday edition of Locked On Bets. Kevin Rogers and Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports with you. As always, we appreciate you making Locked On Bets your first listen of the day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. We are back off Friday. Thanks to me. Was not feeling well. There's no way we would have had a show. Absolutely not. I could not talk through it. So now we start again here on Monday. And the good news is, Lee, we have NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, baseball. So very busy show today, and let's get it started with our NBA wrong team favorite.
What the WTF?
The favorites came through this weekend in the NBA playoffs. Just lay the points and you'll make a lot of money. That's the way it felt in a lot of those games, except for Orlando winning at Detroit last night. But one of the favorites that covered at home, the Denver Nuggets on Saturdays. They took care of Minnesota, a game that looked like a blowout. Minnesota made it interesting in the third quarter, but then Denver pulled away. So now game 2 tonight at Ball Arena. Lee, can the Timberwolves even things up at one apiece?
Yeah, unless you follow the NBA, most people don't recognize what a rivalry these two teams had. These two teams do not like each other at all. You know, we know about like the Boston and the Knicks rivalry, some of these other huge rivalries, but these two teams go at it, and the difference in the game 1 was that third quarter push, 29-17 difference there for Denver. And free throw line, Minnesota only shot 19 free throws. There were 14 for 19. Denver went to the line 33 times and made 30 of the free throws. So those things usually tend to even out over the course of a series. Also, Minnesota, I don't see the Ant-Man going 7 for 19 from the field again and 2 for 9 from three-point land. You know, he's trying to work himself back. He had been injured. A lot of people, they bet that key player, the star player, when they come back the first game. I usually wait till the second game. This is really his second game back here. Also, Jaden McDaniels, 0 for 4 from three-point land. These two guys are hitting 39.9% and over 41% from three-point land. So pretty proficient three-point shooters. And we know the Ant-Man, you know, can drive to the hole, get to the free throw line. So I expect a little bit better performance from Minnesota here. I think Denver's good, but I still don't think they're elite. And this is probably a series that's going to go down to at least 6, maybe 7 games. And if there's a game that Minnesota wins on the road, I think this is going to be that game after they've settled in, see what Denver's going to throw at them. They make the adjustments. And that's why a lot of times the line might start the first game 7.5, 8, and then might come down a point for the underdog. So, yeah, the favorites dominated. Home teams, I think it was 7 out of 8 covered. Favorites covered 7 out of 8. But you know what? Things can change quickly. I'm going to go with the Minnesota Timberwolves plus the 7. Maybe sprinkle a little on the money line also. Wrong team favorite.
Denver was plus 16 at the foul line, like you mentioned. So that, I mean, the numbers were pretty similar except for that. And then that obviously helped the Nuggets out. And Nikola Jokic struggled a bit early, but then he picked it up in the second half. I mean, he's the best player in the NBA. So he did his thing. Jamal Murray played well. And the Nuggets up 1-0. And, you know, like you mentioned, Lee, the favorites, or excuse me, the home teams go 7-1 during the first 2 days of the NBA playoffs. The only loser was the Pistons, the top seed, who lost to Orlando, who everyone thought was going to get blown out by Charlotte in the play-in game. But yet Orlando played well in that one, and they played well in Detroit, got a lot of momentum. Just sticking with that game really quickly in that series, Detroit, you think, all right, getting the kinks out for game 2, or Orlando's got a little bit something there because they've been in the playoffs the last few years?
I think it was a combination of both. And I just don't think that Denver Detroit played with any urgency. It looked like they were countering what Orlando did. Orlando played with a high level of energy. I mean, Franz Wagner they were driving to the hole. It's one thing to hit threes and win games, but he was driving to the hole, layups, dunking the ball, and they had no answer for him. So all their starters, all 5 of them scored from 16 to 23 points. It's going to be tough for them to match that. I think Detroit realizes now they're going to be in for a series.
And 6 of the 8 teams that won, or 68 favorites, I should say, won by double digits. Orlando won by double digits as a dog, and then the only home dog was the Lakers, and that line came down because Kevin Durant didn't play on Saturday, and the Lakers won that one 107-98. So we'll see if this continues going into the game 2s, and coming up tonight in the East, you have Toronto and Cleveland, also Atlanta, New York, before Minnesota, Denver. So quickly, on the NHL, we have an NHL pick coming up in a moment, but anything stick out to you from these games? A little more competitive than we thought. Buffalo came back, Vegas came back late, but still some other upsets. Montreal winning in overtime, and also Minnesota beating Dallas convincingly.
Yeah, well, I didn't grow up with hockey. I mean, hockey wasn't brought into South Florida until 1993, so I didn't grow up with it. Didn't really get all the idiosyncrasies of the game, and didn't even understand all the rules completely until I came here. But what's interesting was, I can say this with all honesty, I'm an NBA fan first before hockey, but playoff hockey, no, there is no equal. It's far superior to the NBA. Just alone, like for instance, the Buffalo game, they averaged, I think, 17 hits per game. Late in the first quarter, they had 20 hits on their opponent, and the first quarter wasn't even over. So if you like action, it's the NHL playoffs.
And Boston led 2-0. Buffalo with 3 unanswered goals late. So Sabres pick up a big win. They haven't had a playoff game in years, so that was huge. And also Utah, their first playoff appearance, they led Vegas in the third, ended up losing. So a lot of these games pretty much going back and forth. And now we will transition into our NHL blowout special.
Oh, boy. Last one out, turn off the lights. This one's a blowout.
Go the first period play here, Lee. The Battle of Pennsylvania. The Penguins, they lost to the Flyers on Saturday. And, I mean, you call it an upset? I guess so. Philadelphia's played well the last few weeks to get in the playoffs. They overcame a huge deficit to get in. But I do like Pittsburgh in the first period here. You're laying about 140, but I like it better than laying the -0.5. You get plus money on that, but then again, if it's a tie, you lose. So a couple numbers here I want to throw out. This one I didn't tell you before the show, Lee, so I'll tell you now. Out of the first 7 games in the Stanley Cup playoffs, not one home team led through the first period. So I got to think that turns around. You got to have some regression on that one. Yeah. Secondly, the Flyers and Penguins have played 5 times this year. Philadelphia has not led through the first period in any of the 5 games. And then I just said regression. You think, oh, Philadelphia could lead, but still 0-0 through 1 on Saturday. Third, 12 straight games for Pittsburgh. They have not trailed through 1. So Pittsburgh has gone off to good starts the last 12 games. So we're going to go with the Pittsburgh Penguins here. I think they get off to a better start here at home. Don't want to dig yourselves a 2-0 hole going to Philly. We're going to take the Penguins -140 first period as our NHL blowout special.
Yeah. There's some real good stats behind your selection there. And I watched every game in the NHL and the NBA playoffs. And I think I think you hit it right on the head. Let's keep rolling there. And the games that we lost in the hockey or we pushed on over the weekend, we probably had the right side. So let's keep rolling.
And also, too, with the Pittsburgh, yes, they could trail 2-0 and come back and win at Philly, but they feel better if they can go 1-1 going back to Philadelphia. Coming up, we're going to shift to Major League Baseball late-night game between the A's and the Mariners. We have a strikeout prop for that. That is straight ahead. You are listening to the Monday edition of Locked On Bets. Let's talk now about FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are here, where every possession matters, every matchup is magnified, and every game can swing a series. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a great way to get in on the action. You can bet just $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Also, the app makes it easy to follow the action with player stats, trends, and matchups all in one place. You want to do your handicapping there, you can go to FanDuel's app. You could find the best place to Lock in your sides, your totals, your money lines, your player props for these NBA playoff games. Now with the game ones in the bag, now game twos. Maybe you want to go the other way on some of these games. Maybe ride some of the home teams. We'll see. It's all up to you. And so many great choices. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game. We continue the Monday edition of Locked On Bets. Kevin Rogers and Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports with you. And now let's go to Major League Baseball, the A's and the Mariners for our MLB Hidden Gem.
To find a diamond in the rough, you need to dig a little deeper for those hidden gems.
Late night game out in Seattle between the Mariners and the A's. Mariners off a big series against the Rangers. A's traveling up to the Pacific Northwest. Emerson Hancock. He gets the ball for Seattle tonight. Lee, what do you like with his strikeout prop?
Yeah, so this is a situation here where a guy's pitching well, and I think you might see a little bit of regression from him. And also I see a team coming on that he's facing. So he has been there in the majors now, started off his first year. I think only pitched less than 5 games and had a 4.50 ERA. But last 2 years, 4.90 and 4.75. Much better this year. 2-1 with a 2.28 ERA. And in the 4 games he started this year, he's finally in the rotation for good. 6.5, 5, and 9 strikeouts here. I think he's facing a lineup here that starting to figure it out. Started slowly, did the Athletics, but a lot of young players here hitting well below their, career averages. Only one player hitting above 280. A lot of guys hitting like 220, 180, 170, 210. And last 2 games scored 11 runs combined. So things are starting to click for this team. I think the Athletics take this rivalry a little more seriously. And I like the fact here that also you get a situation here where a guy might be feeling really good about himself, and he may not take the Athletics seriously where he's faced some tougher teams before and coming up afterwards. So I think it's a situational play here. The over-under is 5.5 strikeouts here. That means if he pitches between 5 and 6 innings, you're going to have to average over a strikeout per inning somehow in one of the innings, and I think that's going to be tough here. So I'm going to take the under here. A lot of people play overs on strikeouts. Sometimes that number just keeps getting juiced up higher and higher. It's high enough for me to take the under. Under 5.5 strikeouts here tonight for Seattle pitcher here, Emerson Hancock out of Georgia. Think he might end up with just 3 or 4 strikeouts, and Athletics do some damage. Wrong pitcher favored.
All right, and the Mariners off 2 wins over the Rangers, and those are 2 big wins. And again, I know it's a division rival, but still, you're gonna have a drop off here playing the A's. It's just not gonna feel the same way after beating Texas a couple games at home. So the Mariners remain at home, taking on the A's tonight, and plenty of baseball today. NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, NFL draft coming up later in the week. So Lee, what's going on with Paramount Sports? So many things going on right now.
All right, player props have been red hot over the weekend. Over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, went 9-3 on our player props. If you want to give it a try, how about this? 10 days of player props, $47. That's it. You heard me correct. Not 147 or 97. 10 days of MLB player props. We've been averaging about 4 player props per day when there's a normal schedule. $47. They get texted to you daily. So you want to give it a shot? Just one place, ParamountSports.com, or call 800-400-9741.
And don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Locked On Bets. Also, you can find the podcast version on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast. Type in Locked On Bets, and you'll be all set. For Lee Sterling, I am Kevin Rogers. Thank you so much for tuning into this edition of Locked On Bets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network.